My partner accused me of lying about something trivial, even though I was telling the truth. For our anniversary, I invited them to a special dinner and hired a private lie detector test, then revealed all their past lies in front of friends and family. I need outside perspectives on this because everyone in my life is either completely on my side or thinks I'm an absolute psychopath. There's no middle ground. My girlfriend Maya and I have been together for 3 years. Overall, we have a good relationship. We live together, share similar values, get along with each other's families, the whole thing. But there's been one ongoing issue that's been slowly driving me insane. Maya constantly accuses me of lying about things, even when I'm telling the complete truth. It started small. Maybe 6 months into our relationship, I told her I'd stop by the grocery store on my way home from work. She looked in the bags and asked where the receipt was. I said I'd thrown it away at the store. She got this look on her face and said, "Are you sure that's what happened? Because it seems weird that you'd throw away a receipt." I was confused. "Maya, why would I lie about throwing away a receipt?" "I don't know," she said, "but something about your story doesn't add up." There was nothing that didn't add up. I had literally thrown the receipt in the trash can by the exit because I didn't need it and didn't want it cluttering up my wallet. But Maya seemed convinced I was hiding something. That was the beginning of a pattern that would define our entire relationship. Maya questions everything I tell her. If I say I had lunch with my coworker Jake, she wants to see texts proving we made plans. If I mention running into my high school friend at the coffee shop, she asks why I didn't take a picture with him. If I tell her my mom called to chat, she'll sometimes ask to see my call log. At first, I thought she was just naturally skeptical or maybe had trust issues from past relationships. I tried to be understanding. I'd show her whatever proof she wanted, answer her follow-up questions, even laugh about her detective work. But it got worse over time, not better. Last year, I told Maya I'd gotten a parking ticket downtown. She immediately started interrogating me. What time was it? Which street exactly? How long had I been parked there? Why didn't I feed the meter? Could I show her the ticket? When I showed her the ticket, she studied it like she was looking for evidence of forgery. This says you were parked at 2:15 p.m., but you told me you had lunch with your brother from 1 to 2:30. So, how were you getting a parking ticket at 2:15? Maya, lunch ended early and I walked back to my car. I don't understand why this is a big deal. It's not a big deal if you're telling the truth, but your timeline doesn't make sense. I called my brother right there and put him on speaker to confirm that yes, we'd finished lunch around 2 p.m. and I'd left to walk back to my car. Maya still seemed skeptical. This kind of thing happened constantly. If I was 10 minutes late coming home from work, she needed an explanation. If I mentioned seeing a movie that I hadn't specifically told her I was planning to see, she'd grill me about when I decided to see it and why I hadn't mentioned it beforehand. The crazy thing is, I'm possibly the most honest person on earth. I don't even tell white lies. I don't exaggerate stories. I return extra change when cashiers make mistakes. I've never cheated on anyone, never stolen anything, never even called in sick to work when I wasn't actually sick. But Maya treated me like I was some kind of pathological liar who couldn't be trusted to accurately report what I had for breakfast. I tried talking to her about it multiple times. Maya, I feel like you don't trust me. You question everything I tell you, even completely mundane stuff. I do trust you, she'd always say. But I also think it's healthy to ask questions in a relationship. Communication is important, but you're not just asking questions. You're interrogating me like I'm a criminal, and you never believe my answers. I believe you when your answers make sense. My answers always make sense because I'm always telling the truth. These conversations never went anywhere. Maya would insist she trusted me while simultaneously continuing to treat me like a liar. 6 months ago, things came to a head over something so stupid I can barely believe it became a fight. I had mentioned to Maya that I'd seen our neighbor Tom walking his dog that morning when I left for work. Later that day, she ran into Tom's wife at the store, and Linda mentioned that Tom had been sick with a stomach bug for the past 3 days and hadn't left the house. When Maya came home, she confronted me about it. So I talked to Linda today, she said, with that tone I come to dread. "Oh, cool. How's she doing?" "She's fine. But she mentioned that Tom's been sick for 3 days and hasn't left the house. So I'm wondering why you told me you saw him walking his dog this morning." I was genuinely confused. I did see him walking his dog around 8:30 this morning. Linda says he's been bedridden with food poisoning. "Maya, I know what I saw. It was definitely Tom. He had on that red jacket he always wears, and he was walking Buddy. Are you sure it wasn't someone else? Maybe someone who looked like Tom. I've lived next to Tom for 2 years. I know what he looks like. But Linda says..." "Maya, I don't care what Linda says. I saw Tom walking his dog this morning. Maybe he was feeling better. Maybe Linda was mistaken about how long he'd been sick. Maybe he's been sick, but still taking the dog out for quick walks. I don't know, but I know what I saw." Maya got that look she always gets when she thinks I'm lying. "It just seems really unlikely that you saw him walking his dog if he's been too sick to leave the house for 3 days. Well, that's what happened, so I guess it's not that unlikely." The argument escalated from there. Maya kept insisting that my story didn't make sense and that I should admit I was mistaken. I kept insisting that I knew what I'd seen and that she needed to stop accusing me of lying. Finally, Maya said something that made me snap. "Look, I love you, but you have a problem with telling the truth. This isn't the first time something like this has happened. I think you just say things without really thinking about whether they're accurate." I was so angry I could barely speak. "Maya, I do not have a problem telling the truth. I have never lied to you. Not once. Not about anything. You're the one with a problem. You can't trust anyone, even when they've never given you a reason not to. I can trust people fine. I just have good instincts about when things don't add up. Your instincts are wrong. They've been wrong for 3 years, and they're wrong now." I stormed out of the apartment and went for a long walk to cool down. When I came back, Maya was in bed pretending to be asleep. The next morning, she acted like nothing had happened. But I couldn't let it go. Over the following week, I found myself obsessing over the Tom incident. Had I really seen him? Was I somehow misremembering? I started second-guessing myself about everything. But then, the following weekend, I saw Tom again. And this time, I was ready. I was leaving to go grocery shopping when I spotted Tom across the street, walking Buddy. I quickly took out my phone and snapped a photo. In the picture, you could clearly see Tom in his red jacket with Buddy on a leash, and the timestamp showed it was Saturday at 9:15 a.m. When I got home, I showed Maya the photo. "See? I told you I saw Tom walking his dog." Maya looked at the photo and frowned. "When did you take this?" "Just now, when I was leaving for the store." "But this doesn't prove anything about what you saw 6 days ago." "Maya, it proves that Tom is healthy enough to walk his dog, which means he probably was walking his dog last week when I said I saw him. Or it proves that he's feeling better now. That doesn't mean you saw him when you said you did." I couldn't believe it. Even with photographic evidence that I'd been right, Maya still wouldn't admit she'd been wrong to accuse me of lying. That's when I started planning what I now realize was either the most brilliant or most insane thing I've ever done. I decided that for our 3-year anniversary, I was going to definitively prove to Maya that I always tell the truth, and I was going to prove that she was the one with credibility issues. It took me 2 months to set everything up. First, I hired a private investigator to conduct what's called a comprehensive background verification on both Maya and myself. Basically, I wanted documented proof of every significant claim either of us had made about our past, our experiences, our family, our work history, everything. The PI was expensive, but I figured it was worth it to finally settle this issue once and for all. While the PI was doing his work, I started carefully documenting every conversation Maya and I had where she questioned my honesty. I kept a log with dates, times, what I'd said, what she'd accused me of, and what the truth turned out to be. I also started subtly fact-checking things Maya told me. If she mentioned going somewhere or doing something, I'd find ways to verify her story. Not because I didn't trust her, but because I was building a case. What I discovered was eye-opening. Maya lied constantly. Not about big things, but about small, everyday stuff. She'd tell me she'd been at work late, when she'd actually been at happy hour with co-workers. She'd say she'd called her mom when she hadn't. She'd claim she'd never been to a restaurant we were considering when I had photographic evidence of her eating there with friends. Most of these lies were harmless and probably didn't even register to her as lies, but they were lies nonetheless. Meanwhile, the PI's report confirmed what I already knew. I was scrupulously honest about everything. Every story I told about my past checked out. Every claim about my work, my family, my experiences was accurate. Maya's report was more complicated. She hadn't lied about anything major, but there were several instances where her version of events didn't match documented reality. Her college GPA was lower than she claimed. She'd been fired from a job she said she'd left voluntarily. She'd told me she'd never been engaged before, but the PI found evidence of a 6-month engagement that had been called off 5 years ago. Again, none of these were huge deceptions, but they were inaccuracies. By our anniversary in December, I had everything I needed. I told Maya I wanted to plan something special for our 3-year milestone. I suggested a dinner party with close friends and family. Something intimate and meaningful. Maya loved the idea. We invited 12 people. Her parents, her sister, my parents, my brother, and 6 of our closest friends. I booked a private dining room at a nice restaurant and told Maya I had a surprise planned for after dinner. The surprise was a certified polygraph examiner. I know how this sounds. I know it sounds completely insane. But I was so tired of being accused of lying, so tired of having my integrity questioned, that I thought this was the only way to definitively settle the issue. My plan was simple. We'd both take polygraph tests in front of our friends and family. I'd answer questions about some of the things Maya had accused me of lying about, and she'd answer questions about some of the discrepancies I'd discovered in her stories. The truth would finally come out, and Maya would have to admit she'd been wrong about me. The dinner went great. Everyone was having a wonderful time, laughing and sharing stories about Maya and me. After we finished dessert, I stood up to give a toast. 3 years ago, I met the most amazing woman. Maya has challenged me, supported me, and made me a better person in so many ways. But there's been one ongoing issue in our relationship that I think it's time to address. People were smiling, expecting some funny story about our quirks as a couple. Maya has always been very concerned about honesty and truth-telling. I continued. She's questioned many of the things I've told her over the years, always wanted to make sure the facts are accurate. So for our anniversary, I thought it would be fun to settle some of these questions once and for all. That's when I gestured to the polygraph examiner, who had been waiting in an adjoining room. Everyone, I'd like you to meet Dr. Patricia Hendricks. She's a certified polygraph examiner, and she's here to help us get to the truth about a few things. The room went dead silent. Maya's face went white. "What is this?" she whispered. "It's a chance for both of us to prove we're honest with each other," I said, trying to sound cheerful and confident. "I'll go first." Before anyone could object, Dr. Hendricks began setting up her equipment. I sat down and let her attach the sensors while explaining to our stunned audience how polygraph tests work. "The first question," I announced, "is about Tom and the dog." Maya accused me of lying about seeing our neighbor Tom walking his dog on a morning when his wife said he was too sick to leave the house. "Maya, the question for me is, on the morning of June 15th, did you see Tom Wilson walking his dog?" Dr. Hendricks asked me the question. I answered yes. The machine confirmed I was telling the truth. "Next question," I continued. "Maya has accused me of lying about where I was when I got a parking ticket last year. The question is, were you parked on 5th Street at 2:15 p.m. on March 3rd when you received a parking violation?" Again, I answered truthfully. Again, the machine confirmed it. I went through 5 more questions, all about things Maya had accused me of lying about. The polygraph confirmed I was telling the truth about every single one. By this point, our guests were looking deeply uncomfortable. Maya's sister kept trying to catch my eye, shaking her head slightly like she was trying to get me to stop. But I wasn't done. "Now it's Maya's turn," I said brightly. "Maya, I have a few questions for you." Maya looked like she was going to be sick. "I'm not doing this." "Come on," I said. "It's just for fun. To settle these questions once and for all." "This isn't fun," Maya said. This is insane. What's insane is being accused of lying for 3 years when I've never told you anything but the truth. I replied. The room was so quiet you could hear people breathing. Maya's mom finally spoke up. Maybe we should call a night. No, I said. Maya, you spent 3 years questioning my honesty. The least you can do is answer few questions yourself. Maya reluctantly sat down and let Dr. Hendricks attach the sensors. Her hands were shaking. First question, I said, consulted my notes. Maya, you told me you graduated college with a 3.7 GPA. According to your official transcript, your GPA was 3.2. The question is, did you graduate with a 3.7 GPA? Maya stared at me in horror. You got my transcript? Just answer question. Maya answered no. She hadn't graduated with a 3.7 GPA. The polygraph confirmed she was lying when she'd originally told me she had. Next question. I continued. You told me you left your job at Morrison Marketing voluntarily. According to your former supervisor, you were terminated for repeated tardiness. The question is, did you leave your job at Morrison Marketing voluntarily? By now, Maya was crying. Stop, she said. Please stop. But I was on a roll. The vindication I'd been craving for 3 years was finally within reach. You told me you'd never been engaged before, I continued. But you were engaged to David Martinez for 6 months in 2019. The question is, have you ever been engaged to anyone other than me? We're not engaged, Maya sobbed. Answer the question, Maya. She admitted she had been engaged before. The polygraph confirmed she'd lied about that too. I had 2 more questions prepared, but Maya ripped off the sensors and ran out of the room. The silence that followed was deafening. Dr. Hendricks packed up her equipment and left. Our guests made awkward excuses and began filtering out. Within 20 minutes, Maya and I were alone in the private dining room with the remnants of our anniversary dinner. Maya came back eventually, her eyes red and puffy. How could you do that to me? She whispered. How could I do that to you? I replied, Maya, you've been accusing me of lying for 3 years. 3 years. Do you have any idea what that does to a person? Do you know how it feels to have someone you love constantly question your integrity? Those weren't lies, Maya said. Those were private things. Things I didn't think mattered. If they didn't matter, why didn't you tell me the truth? Because I was embarrassed. Because I didn't want you to think less of me. But when I tell you I saw our neighbor walking his dog, that's somehow a suspicious lie that needs to be investigated. Maya didn't have an answer for that. We've been staying in separate bedrooms for the past 2 weeks. Maya barely speaks to me. When she does, it's to tell me how disturbed and controlling my behavior was. Her friends have been calling and texting me, telling me I'm abusive and that Maya deserves better. Her sister left me a voicemail saying I'm a sick person who needs professional help. My friends are more divided. Some think what I did was brilliant, a perfect way to expose Maya's hypocrisy. Others think I went too far and that humiliating her in front of our families was cruel and unnecessary. My brother thinks I proved my point but destroyed my relationship in the process. You were right, he told me, but being right doesn't matter if you lose the person you love. But I'm not sure I want to be with someone who spent 3 years treating me like a liar. I keep thinking about all those times Maya made me feel crazy, made me second-guess myself, made me wonder if I really was as dishonest as she seemed to think. The Tom incident wasn't an isolated thing. It was part of a pattern of her refusing to trust me even when I gave her no reason for suspicion. And now it turns out she was the one who had been lying all along. Not about big things, but about enough things that she had no right to be questioning my honesty. At the same time, I know that what I did was extreme. I embarrassed her in front of our friends and families. I invaded her privacy by hiring a PI to investigate her background. I turned our anniversary dinner into a public tribunal. Maybe there were better ways to handle this issue. Maybe I should have just broken up with her instead of trying to prove my point. But I'm tired of being the villain in this story. I'm tired of being made to feel like the problem when I've done nothing wrong. Maya has been lying to me, maybe not about important things, but lying nonetheless. She's been accusing me of lying when I've been completely truthful. She's created a dynamic in our relationship where my word isn't good enough, where everything I say is suspect. Is it really so wrong that I wanted to expose that double standard? I know most people will probably think I went too far. But I need to know, was I wrong to want proof that I'm not the liar in this relationship?